Okay, I want to talk about literal equations. A literal equation is an equation involving two or more variables. Sometimes you might hear people talk about these like formulas. And you will use these a lot, especially in physics and chemistry. A lot of times just by rewriting formulas a little bit and solving for a different variable, you can get all kinds of new information about a problem. So that's something that we want to be able to do, because you know, if I have a formula solved for one variable, but I really want to know about another variable, and I have to keep doing the same calculation over and over and over again, it would be easier to just solve for the new variable so that I don't have to keep doing the same calculation over and over again. For example, you know, here I want to solve for b. I've got a equals 1/2 b, or I've got a equals 1/2 bh. You know, maybe I have a list of a values given to me, and I want to find all the b values that go with those a values. So I don't want to plug in a different number for a and have to keep finding b over and over and over again. If I can solve for b, that'll save some time. And by the way, this formula 1/2 bh squared, this is the formula for the area of a triangle, where the height is h and b is the base. So I have a bunch of areas, but what I really want to know about for this particular problem is the base. So basically I do it the same way I did it when I was trying to solve equations before. I look at the things next to b and I do the opposite. So the opposite of a 1/2 in front of b, I would take the reciprocal and multiply by 2 on both sides. So I have 2 times a, and I have 2 times 1/2 bh, and the 2 and the 1/2 cancel. Now on the other side here I have 2a. And you're probably saying, well, what do I do with that? I don't know what a is. Well, just keep it the way that it is. Keep the 2a just like you see it. And now I have bh. And then what's the opposite of multiplying b by h? Well, I think dividing b by h would be the opposite. So those cancel. My final answer then is b equals 2a over h. Now, a lot of people try to combine this further. They don't like seeing their answer like that, but that's a perfectly acceptable answer for you to have. You can't always get rid of everything and make everything just go down to one number. If you tell me what a and h are, then I can tell you what b is, but otherwise we have to leave our answer just like this. So that's what we're going to do for this whole section. We're going to try to get certain variables by themselves by undoing operations. And I will tell you for each problem, I'll have to tell you which variable we want to solve for, especially if we have many, many variables. So I hope you found this helpful, and work really hard at this, because you'll see this again when we talk about linear equations and we have to put things in slope-intercept form and take things out of slope-intercept form. So if you can do this, you will be money ahead of everybody else. Okay, let's solve this equation for x. This is actually the slope-intercept form of a line. Now, you don't need to know that now, but eventually you'll work with things like this when you get to the algebra class next trimester. So I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to subtract 5. Now, y minus 5, I can't do anything with that, so I just leave it as y minus 5. It's okay to do that. And then here I have 1/2 x. And if I have a 1/2 in front of the x, the thing that would cancel that would be 2 over 1. So I multiply both sides of these equations, of this equation, by 2 over 1. So the 2 over 1 and the 1/2 will cancel, and I have x on one side, and then 2 over 1 here I have to distribute. I put parentheses around it to remind me to distribute. So 2 times y is 2y, and 2 times -5 is -10. And as weird as it looks, that's actually solved for x. If you want to, you can flip-flop it and put the x in front. But the important thing is that x is by itself. Let's go in reverse now. This is something that's in standard form. This is the standard form of a linear equation. And I want to put it in y-intercept form or slope-intercept form by solving for y. And again, you will see this a lot when you get to algebra in just a little bit here. So let's work on this together. I am going to start, if I want y by itself, I need to get rid of this 3x first. So I will subtract. Don't see the negative and think, oh, opposite is add. look at what you're trying to get rid of. What you're trying to get rid of is positive, so you subtract 3x. And those cancel, and then on the left, I bring down the negative 4y. And on the other side, I have 8 minus 3x. And then I divide everything by negative 4. And hopefully you remember this. Maybe you don't remember this, but I hope you remember that for division, there is also kind of like a distributive property. So I have y equals 8 over negative 4 minus 3x over negative 4. And then here I have 8 minus 8 divided by negative 4. I get y equals negative 2. And then boom, boom, those two negatives cancel. I just get plus 3x over 4. You don't really do anything with that. You just leave the 3/4 where it is, just like so. Now, one last thing I want to do, and you'll learn this in algebra, so if you don't do it now, it's okay. But when you get to algebra, we usually put the x term in front. So I put the positive 3x over 4 in front, and this negative 2 I move to the back, and I just write it as minus 2. So you can switch the order here if you just remember that this negative 2 becomes a subtract 2. Normally when there's subtraction involved, you do have to be a little bit careful about switching the order. And then let's do one more for you here. I want to solve for D here. So if I want to solve for D, by the way, you see this formula? RD plus RR equals U. You know what that is? RDRR. You get it? RDRR! That's how you laugh. You go, RDRR! Okay, anyhow, let's solve for D. So if I want to solve for D, I have to get this term out of here. So I'm going to subtract, and actually we can call this r squared if you want. So I'm going to subtract r squared from both sides, and I get RD equals U minus r squared. And then what's the opposite of multiply by r? Well, I think divide everything by r. And when I do that, I get D by itself now equal to U minus r squared over r. And if you want to, you could split this up into two fractions and reduce. You can also leave it just like this. You know, if it's not a linear equation, I usually don't worry about splitting it up like I did on the last problem. Like here, I actually split this up into two fractions because it was a linear equation, but this is not, so we can leave it in this form if we want. But anyhow, I will let you go now, and I will hear from you soon. So keep on laughing. RDRR! Ha ha!